Welcome to the Simple Doesn't Mean Easy podcast. We are here weekly working at simplifying things in our lives, one day at a time, one simple step at a time. And I'm your host, Michelle Visser. Today, we're talking about three phases, three steps towards forming a good habit. I'm excited about this because I think it's very hands-on and very encouraging. So I'm glad you're here. But before we dive into today's episode, I have a question for you. Are you an asparagus fan? I will be honest, even though I very much am now, I really didn't eat asparagus or even really know much about it until I think it was 5 years ago now that I planted my first asparagus plant. It just was nothing I ever even considered growing before. But I will tell you, it is my favorite thing in my garden, I think. That's hard to choose. It's definitely up there. And the reason why is it is ready to eat so early. It gives me food at least 6 to 8 weeks before anything else is ready to eat in my garden. It is a hardy plant, it's pest resistant, and it's perennial. It comes back year after year. It's like zero maintenance. If you want to check out my favorite source for asparagus, go to soulyrested.com/seeds. Of course, it's not just limited to asparagus. This is an amazing seed company. You can get all of your seeds for this spring. You can get your live plants as well. And I have a discount code waiting for you. Go to soulyrested.com/seeds, SEEDS. Don't hesitate. Don't even think about it anymore. Just go look and pick out some great things for your garden this year. soulyrested.com/seeds. So last episode, I feel like we actually really chatted because I shared with you some of your thoughts, read to you some of your insights from some conversations I had had with some of you talking about New Year's resolutions. If you missed that episode, go back and catch it. I think you'll like it and I think you'll relate to it. And I told you last week that this week was coming. And I'm excited about this because I shared with you last week how there's this, I don't know, total myth going around on social media that in just 21 days, if you stick to a new habit, it will become a solid habit and it will be an everyday part of your life moving forward. And we broke down why that is indeed a myth. And we talked about how, you know what? To really form a new habit, it takes work. You got to invest the sweat equity. You've got to work at it. And we all know it, even if we choose to not admit it or we choose to look for an easier way. We all know it. It takes hard work. But today, I'm going to really make it practical for you. And I'm excited about this. Tom Bartow is a highly sought after business coach, and he designed this model. None of this is my idea, but I love it, and I'm going to walk through it with you. It's really a great insight into the three phases towards habit formation. Also, I mentioned last week too, you could listen to episode 119. We had Dr. Glenn Livingstone on, and he is a former CEO of a multi-million-dollar consulting firm for the food industry. And he shares his insight in episode 119 into how to overcome the bad habit of binge eating and overeating. And a lot of the really practical steps and insights he gives us are really helpful for any bad habit, overcoming it and forming a good habit. So that's episode 119. I think you'll like that. Also, pause for a second. I want to tell you that I have started something new, kind of my New Year's resolution. I hope it's one I will absolutely stick to. I plan on it. I am going to be sending out an email to all of you who would like it after an episode goes live each week, because I find it so frustrating that I'm telling you all these things and I know darn well you're listening in the car, you're washing dishes and your hands are deep down in the warm water. You're doing something else while you're listening. That's the way I am when I'm listening to a podcast. And it's not easy ever to really pay attention to the links that I'm giving you or the details like when I tell you you'll like episode 119, you think, oh, well, maybe I'll remember that, but you don't if you're like me. So if you would like to get this email, you do have to sign up. I have no way of sending it to you otherwise. But if you go to soulyrested.com/podcast, I will, you just have to sign up there, give me your email, and I will send you a weekly, really quick, simple recap of the episode for that week. And I will include all the links and the things that I mentioned like that you're not going to be able to recall when you take your hands out of the soapy dishwater. So go to soulyrested.com/podcast and sign up, and I will start sending you that weekly little quick summary and recap. Okay. So what are the 3 phases that Tom Bartow made really evident and broke down really well in his model? Phase 1, we can all relate to this, is the honeymoon phase. And depending on when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it when it is just released, it's the second week of January. And a lot of us might still be in the honeymoon phase of a New Year's resolution. Although it might already be too late for some of us. We might already have moved on because we've already given up on whatever the resolution was. It's hard, guys. This is the phase of habit formation that is characterized by, oh, this is easy, or this is great. Even if I know it's not easy, I'm still really loving it. I see the benefits, or I know I'm going to see the benefits, and I am all in. Great honeymoon phase of my new habit. Usually, we start this phase as a result of something that inspired us. If it's New Year's resolution, that's what inspired us. It's fresh year, a new slate. I'm going to dive into this new good habit. Or it could be something like you went to a motivational conference, or you heard some quote, or you read some book. And it's usually at least a few days, if not a few weeks, that you are flying high, it's going well, and you are in the honeymoon phase. Unfortunately, this is really the shortest phase of all of the phases, and it's the shortest lived little ride when it comes to habit formation, because the honeymoon, we all know, doesn't last very long. So phase 2 is called the fight through. This is the phase when reality sits in and a person really starts struggling. They maybe are still working on this good habit. They're still doing whatever their goal was, but they're finding it hard. It's not a honeymoon anymore because, the old habit is creeping in a little bit, or they're really starting to desire that old habit. The key to moving on to the 3rd phase, the key to getting through this one, is exactly what the phase is called. You have to fight through it. And according to Tom Bartow, you really have to win at least 2, more likely 3, what he calls fight throughs. And that is critical. You have to win the fight through. So the honeymoon phase is over. You're facing a true battle against your will that you just want to go back to the old habit. And there's actually 3 different things that you can do to help you win the fight through, to be victorious and to stick with your good habit. The first thing is to recognize. Recognition. What was that word? Recognition is absolutely essential if we're going to win those moments that we want to concede and that we want to go back to our old selves. When you have entered that moment, you have to say to yourself, okay, this is one of those times. I need to win this. I need to get past this. Winning a fight through is going to actually make it easier to win the next fight through and the next one as well. So after you've done that for consecutive times, and this could be over a couple days that you find yourself battling this, could be over months, could even be over years, but you will find that the second time you do it and the third time you do it is a little bit easier than the first time because you have solidified in your mind, I did this once. I overcame it. I can do it again, right? The second thing that's really important when you find yourself in one of these fight through moments is to ask yourself two questions. How will I feel if I do this? And the reverse, how will I feel if I don't do this? And the key to this tactic is you're bringing emotion into the game and it's becoming part of the equation. You're letting yourself feel the positive emotion of if you win this fight through. And you're also admitting how negative it will feel if you lose this fight through. And that really might be all you need. If you really think through those two questions, how will I feel if I do this? And how will I feel if I don't do this? It's very possible you'll choose the right thing and you'll be one more step on your way to that good habit that you're forming. I want to pause this episode and ask you if you know your favorite perfume is most likely loaded with chemicals. Some of the most loved fragrances in perfume, jasmine and sandalwood, are actually very expensive if a perfume company sources them naturally. So, perfume companies rely on lab made synthetics to mimic the expensive natural options. And then we spray and slather these endocrine disruptors all over our skin, the largest part of our body. But I want to introduce you to a company that is doing it differently. Go to soulyrested.com/soap, SOAP. In a world where the companies that are calling themselves natural perfume companies are relying on lab created substitutes, this small business is taking a stand and they're doing it right. soulyrested.com/soap. And of course, they make some amazing soaps and lotions, even some natural diaper cream. So much good stuff there. But the perfumes you really want to check out because this company is doing it right. You can sample the perfumes, you can try some of the soaps and the lotions, and you can know you're getting the best with zero junk. And you can even save. Go check out the savings at soulyrested.com/SOAP. There's the third step, which is projection. If you are not finding that's enough, like you answered these questions in your head and you're like, daggone it, I don't care. I'm going to go through with this. I'm going to do this right now. I'm hungry or whatever it is. I really want that blank. Then there's a third thing. That's the projection. Imagine, and you really have to go into detail here. Imagine, paint the picture in your mind how your life will be in 5 years if you don't begin making changes now. And be honest with yourself. Allow yourself to really feel what will life be like if the changes that I'm working on are never made. What will it be like? And really think about it. And then if you have done that and battled at least 3 of those fight throughs, at least according to Tom Bartow's theories, you have moved on to the third phase. And in phase 3, it's really considered second nature. As you enter into the second nature, it's kind of like you're feeling like you have got your groove on. You are in the groove. You got this. You know, you've proven it to yourself on multiple occasions that you could overcome the battle, and the good habit is definitely forming. Once you're in this second nature phase, there are 3 interpretations. I'm sorry, I said interpretations. There are 3 interruptions that could send you right back to one of those fight through moments. And I think it's really good to think about these 3 things. First of all, discouragement. This is the one that I feel like we can really control. We talked about this last episode, how we can't control everything that's going to impact if we will or will not have our New Year resolution that we had hoped for, if we will or will not solidly make the changes that we want to. Sometimes things are out of our control and we just can't do it. But what we can control is our response to that. We can control our attitude, our reaction. And it's so important because it can keep our stress levels down. And in the end, that right there can be what leads to our final goal of a better health, a better life, if our stress levels are down and we are healthier. So go back and listen to the last episode if you want a refresher on that or if you missed it. But that's essentially what Tom Bartow is getting to here, that if you allow the negative results to discourage you, when you have already reached this phase 3, still those negative thoughts can creep in and you might start thinking, this isn't really working. Or, you know what? I really don't know if this is what I really want after all. And the worst part is if you start thinking, there's really nothing I can do to make sure I keep up with this good new character development I'm working on, or this good new habit that I've formed. I really can't be sure. I don't know. And the second thing is a disruption. This is something that has happened to all of us. It's happened to me so many times in the past few years. It's when there's been a really significant change to your current pattern that you're on. So you're doing all the right things. One of the things for me is just the seasons. In the summer, I'm in the right groove and I'm doing all the things. I'm really active. I'm outside. I'm getting the fresh air. I'm getting all the sunshine and the vitamin D. And then there's a disruption and a very significant change to my current pattern of my moving my body and being really active. And all of a sudden it starts getting cold. There's less sunshine. You know how it goes. Also, there was a time when I was really, really feeling so healthy, so good just a couple of years ago. And I just did one simple little thing. It was literally a 1 minute out of my day thing. I stepped into a big old hole in our floor where we were repairing it and the vent was out. And I knew it was there, but I forgot and I stepped in full force. Really damaged my leg. I was on my back for a week, not walking on my leg. And I did something else too. I can't even remember. Was it something with my hip? I don't know. All of a sudden, the rest of the summer, my physical activity was plummeted and my health kind of plummeted because of this one silly little thing I did. That was a major disruption in a flow of what had become second nature for me to really be getting good exercise and doing well with that. It's a big disruption. Other disruptions could be just a vacation. It can totally change your routine that you're on, whether it's the food you're eating or the exercise you're getting, or how you're getting up at a certain time every day. You go on vacation and all of that goes to the wind, right? And just a holiday, this whole Christmas to New Year's that we've just gotten through in a few weeks ago, that really plays havoc. I still haven't gotten back into the routine that I was pre-holiday, um, illnesses, even something as simple as the weekend. You could do really well Monday through Friday at something, and then the weekend comes and it seems really hard. So those are two things: discouragement, which is really self-induced, and disruption, which is out of our control. And then third, the seduction of success. You can actually focus too much on your positive results when you're in this third phase. And you can start thinking, I finally figured it all out. You can start looking at other people who are still deep in that bad habit that you have overcome, and you can start really judging them without even realizing it. It's not like you're going to go up to them and be verbal about it and say, "Look at you, you slob," but you're thinking about it in your mind, like, "Oh, look at that person. I don't do that anymore." And you can start to think, "Oh, I can have these great results without so much work anymore. It's not so hard anymore. I don't really need to put in the work to see the whole good efforts and the good results anymore." That can be such a problem. And I think it's something, I'm kind of making fun of it and I'm using extreme examples, I feel like, but I do think it's something all of us, no matter what your personality is, all of us can be subject to this. We can really fall into this seduction of success, putting a chip on our shoulder and feeling like, well, I've made it now, and that problem is not going to be a problem of mine anymore. And unfortunately, it can lead to major backslide. It can lead to going all the way back to the beginning of the whole process and having to start over again. So be on guard against those three things: discouragement, and like I said, disruptions you really can't control, but at least give yourself a break and don't let yourself fall into the discouragement because of the disruption, right? Tell yourself, okay, this is a disruption out of my control. It's okay. I'll get back on track. And then third, be aware and be leery of that whole seduction of success. So if you experience any of those and you just get bogged down in it, discouragement, disruption, seduction of success, and trust me, all of us experience all of those things on any new habit that we have formed, and you find yourself back in phase 2, where you're back in your fight through phase, just remind yourself, you know what? Been here before. I've done this before, and I only have to win 2 or 3 fight throughs. I can do this. And you can work your way right back to the phase 3 where things have become second nature. But the crazy thing is, I mean, if you really think through all these steps and all these interruptions, we realize that, oh, this is a lifelong thing. And it's true for probably everybody. Like all of this stuff we're talking through, there's nothing overly enlightening or surprising, right? This is something that happens to us maybe daily in some way with every character building, good or bad habit thing that we're working on. So I just think it's good to know, okay, there are these stages and I have these options, and I can recognize when this is a disruption, or I can recognize when I need to pull my emotions into this and really think through um, what the negative effects are going to be if I lose this moment, right? And I give in. And it helps to really have these hands-on thoughts and ideas and ways to combat things. But all of us have been there. Like I said, probably on a daily basis, we all can relate to this. It's just good to think about it really concisely and to realize, okay, I can do this. And yeah, I'm going to fail at some point. That's okay. I can get back on my horse and fight another fight and do another day, right? So I hope this was encouraging for you. And I hope that, if nothing else from the last episode and this one, what we can take away from it is the fact that even though so many things are out of our control, and even though we all know darn well any resolution we make very well might be broken at some point, we're going to have to start again. It's okay, because what we are in control of is our attitude towards this. We can choose to look at the positive. We can choose to see all that we have accomplished, and we can choose to be thankful for that. And that's going to be, in the end, what really matters. And it's going to be what really keeps down our stress levels and leads to a healthier life. So there you go. Reach out to me and let me know your thoughts. Let me know if any of that was extra encouraging to you, any steps that made you go, aha. I'll be talking about it over on Instagram this week, I'm sure, because I just find this all really fascinating. So, okay, go sign up to get the weekly email. If you've gotten your hands out of the dishwater now, or you're done your jogging on the treadmill and you have a second now, go to soulyrested.com/podcast and I'll send you the weekly summary, and all the links will be in that summary. So that's it. Thanks for listening, friends. Remember, it is easy to forget how blessed we are to live this life. So enjoy the simple, everyday efforts. It's not easy, but it's a good life.